Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss a very special topic related to the data structures and algorithm class. And our topic for today will be the Eclipse installation and the very first console application. So again, very much introductory course for today, just in order to understand how to install the all necessary software for our class and how to make and handle the first console application. So also today we will talk a little bit about like the coding procedure, but that will be just ensure that everything is working related to the installed Eclipse and all other necessary tools. Okay, so this is what we are going to proceed today. So the first what we will need to do is to install Eclipse, make sure that everything is working. So let's make our first console application in Java, just trivial hello world application, and we will also try the simplest programming, so which will include variables, array, and function. Assuming that those concepts are already clear for you, just make sure that this is not something new for you. So let's talk a little bit about those very basic stuff, and next class we can start talking about a little bit more complex tools related to the data structures and algorithms. Okay, so the first what we will need to do is to install Eclipse. So in order to do that, so see here where is the Eclipse.org website. Let's open Google and here type Eclipse.org. Okay, we came to that particular web page. Okay, I don't really need this. So this is what we need, download. I click download, and here we do have the latest at that moment. Eclipse 2020-12. So here, just click that download x86. Okay. So here there is another download. Click this. Okay, so then the installation, like downloading the installation package is started. So it is 100 megabytes, so that's why it will take a while to be downloaded. Okay, so the download process finished, so just click here. And as you can see, the computer start running the package. So this is what appeared here. And we can see here there are quite many different options. So what we can do. So there are two general choice for us. See here, there is even the tool for C and C++ developers. In fact, there are only two options for us. So we can choose like EDA, IDE for the Java developers and Enterprise Edition. So for us right now, there is no big difference in between those things because we are not going to use Eclipse to create very complex stuff. So that's why I will just recommend Eclipse for the Java developers. So that will be enough. Okay, so it will download, see the Java 11 version plus virtual machine, and will also identify the installation folder. So in my case, I will just change it to another drive. programs. Folder. Select folder. Okay. So programs, Eclipse. You can do whenever you want because I don't have much space in the C drive, so that's why. So then start installation. So this is pretty much trivial. Okay. Accept all of those rules. And so on. So if something else will happen in here, I will come back. So the final installation finished. So just click launch. So, and Eclipse is telling us, okay, what will be the current workspace. So the concept of the workspace is quite important for the Eclipse. So that's why you can choose any folder you want. So as long as I will use Eclipse only for data structure class, so I will make a special directory for that, and I will place all of our projects, all of our files into that particular folder. So data structures and algorithms. Okay, so here let's say one more folder. Okay, so all of my projects will be located in that particular folder and launch. So the installation process finished. So the Eclipse is already launched in our application. So right here we can see that particular like invite window. So we can actually delete it. And here is the Eclipse interface, what we can use right now. Actually, sometimes you may fail to install Eclipse in the beginning. So you may see some error messages. So just in order to make sure that you can follow, like you can solve the problem, I will link to another video where I met that particular problem and solve it. So I will give a link to that video just in the description or in the like our class webpage. You may see that particular link. Okay, so now in order to make sure that everything is working, let's create a Java project. You can either click here or do the file okay, so right here we can see that our default location is data structure algorithm, what I choose in the beginning. And another interesting part is this GRE. So in my case, as long as I already have, I had Eclipse before, so that's why the Java was already installed. From time to time, depends what you're exactly doing with your computer, Java may not be installed on your computer, so that's why you will need to install it. Again, to do that, link to the another video where I explain that particular things. So now let's make my first Eclipse or console application. Console application. Okay, so now what I can do, make a new class. So the class name I can call, like we can call it whenever we want, create hello world. So an important part when I creating that particular Java class, so make sure that you check that part, public static void main string arguments. So that will create necessary like main functionality in our application that may help. Okay, finish. So and right now we do have our create like hello world main function. So inside we can launch run our source. So I want to display hello world. So in order to do that, use system dot out dot. So here where is the print ln. So and inside let's write hello world. Done. Okay, so now launch. So right here we can see hello world application. Now, this is exactly what we want. So the all necessary text information from our coding will be displayed in the console, and that's exactly what we want for our class. So now any application what we will create, we can process here. So we can make another application, another project. So we can add some other files here and execute them one by one. Depends exactly what we want. So such kind of things we can discuss later. Okay, so now let's go and try to create some variables, some arrays, and some functions. Okay, so in the first, what I will try to do is to separate our console view outside of the application. So what I can do, I can just do something like this. And my console now is separated from the general Java. So such kind of like separate console will be very helpful like in our course, because mostly we will display data here, and yeah, definitely like better to have a separate console. In that case, like we can always scroll, we can go up and down, see the data, modify, and like manage the data. It is much harder if that console is included to the Eclipse. So yeah, so that's why like, let's do that kind of separation. Okay, the first let's start from the data type. So in Java, so there are like several data types what we will usually use during the course, and just let's name them. Most probably you already know all of those data. If you never met Java before, so that may be some kind of new information for you. So anyway, this is the very basic and the very trivial stuff from the general programming. So type 1 byte. So the type byte, size 1 byte. Now, interesting. In Java, there is no unsigned type. So that's why even byte, this is if we are calling the numbers, like the variables as numbers, by using the type byte. So the range will be from minus 128 to 127. So it means that if our data is bigger than that range, so we should not use byte. Yeah, this is the limitation. Remember about it. Okay, the next type is short. Short type is for one variable we will allocate 2 bytes. So that's why the range will be bigger. But again, see here there is no unsigned components. So it means that the range will be from like minus 32,000 until 30,000. So again, same with the byte. If your numbers range is bigger than that particular range, better do not use short for our variables. The reason why byte and short presented here, so maybe this is mostly for the tradition. Nowadays, we don't have much like too big problem with the memory, with the computer memory, application memory. So that's why we always use other types. But again, the better to know that byte and short is exist. Now, the most common one, integer. So the C integer, this is like 2 billion, from 2 billion until 2 billion, minus 2 billion, 2 billion. So this is pretty big numbers. Each integer is 4 bytes. 32 bits, quite a big number. So that's why the range is also very much significant. So most of the data, if we need decimal numbers, so we will use integer type. Okay, so the next one is long. Long is the advanced version of integer. So long is 2 times bigger than integer. The size is 8 bytes, 64 bits. So, and the range is amazingly big. So if we need to handle extremely big integer numbers, not floating numbers, integer numbers, so we must use long. Again, remember for the very big integer the decimal numbers, also the integer. So we are supposed to use long. Okay, so now what if I need to use floating numbers? So there are 2 floating types, float and double. So the float is only 4 byte. So that's why it is actually good to display only the 6-7 the numbers with the 6-7 digits before dot, before the floating part. So this is not extremely big numbers. So that's why if it is like millions with the floating part, so instead of float, better to use double. So in here an example. See here there are only 7 numbers displayed. So once again, if our number, integer part of that number is bigger than 6-7 digit, better to use double. Yeah, always remember that, because using the wrong type sometimes may cause mistakes which compiler will not define. Anyway, so we will discuss such kind of problem during the course. Okay, now double, like very similar to integer, second the most popular data type for the variables. So each double, this is the 8 byte, 64 bits, a lot of data per one single data component. So, but see here now up to the 15 digits we can easily use. So in general, we don't care much about the like data size, it can be very big if we are using double. At the same time, double is the floating type, so it means that we may use the different digits after dot. So and yeah, altogether that is what we will usually use, double or integer. But for sure we need to know other types. So now next very interesting type of variables is the Boolean, very trivial, true or false. Again, sometimes it is very important to know what is that. And the component char. So the char component size is 2 bytes, so technically 16 bits. And char we are using in order to save ASCII symbols to process with the text. So this is the data types. So not a lot, yeah, but more important here is the range and the choice for the certain variable, certain type, what we must pick in order to avoid any problems in the future. Okay, so variables. So variables, this is those types what we already discussed here, plus one extra variable, string. So the string is nothing else as the very useful class, the very useful component, which can unify a lot of text components together and give us like a lot of freedom to manage and display different data in our application. So and here I start making the different examples. For example, we do have integer number 1 equal 15, and I want to display that particular number in the screen. Okay, I will just comment this too, and let's see how does it looks like. So hello world 15. So this is our number 15, what I want to display. Okay, so now let's make the string component number 1 text, call it number 1. So and let's display it as well. So in here we can see that particular number 1 here. So we are using the print ln. So the print ln will print the everything what is displayed here and will move to a like next line. So actually what I can do, I can combine. For example, I can plus here and say number 1. Okay, so that looks pretty wrong, but technically what's happened, this is our string text, number 1 text. This 15, this is our entire number. So now in order to make the shape better, what I can do, I can add equal in the middle. So and now our number 1 will be equal 15. So and doing the same, so we can process the different manipulation with our numbers and with our components. So that can be important. So instead of using the print ln, so we can use just print. So let's make a few more variables. Number 2, 24. Let's say we will have float. Number 3, 0. Something like this. Okay. So if we are writing the floating parts, so better to add f to define the floating numbers. So now let's make some double. Something like this. For double, we don't need to place f, so the compiler may identify it as well. Okay, so now, so how can I display the numbers out? So I can also use print. So the print compared to the previous version, so the print will not display the numbers and move to the next line, so that will display the numbers one by one. So the print, okay. Let's say I want to do the display number 2. Let's say number 3. Number 3. Okay, and so here I want to display next number 1 and see what will happen. So that kind of strange things will happen. So okay, why? Because here we use print, so that print the first number, which is 15. So the number 2 is 24. So what's happened here? So technically we display the sum of those 3 numbers. So if I will take number 1, number 2, number 3, so sum them together, that will be 39. That. Okay, now what if I want to display them separately? So here. So now, what if I want to display them separately, like this? So what do I need to do? To add like comma, like this. Yeah. So if I will combine like numbers with the text component, so the compiler will understand that I want to display the numbers separate. Okay, so that is looks abnormal for me. Okay, so instead of comma, let's do this plus plus. Okay, and after number 3. Okay, so let's add equal. Okay, so remember this is the one print. So now if I will let's say use the print ln, so and here we'll just sum all of them plus so here is 3, so here 2, so that must be the answer for this, like that will be the sum. So see what's happened. So this line, so number 1 15. After that I am displaying plus. After that I am displaying number 2, another plus, and number 3. So equal. So and the next line we will display the result, number 1, number 2, number 3. So this is the 39.25. So we technically combine few numbers. So what we can do is we can create one extra variable, call it result. Okay, so and result, let's say, will be all of our numbers. So I will place it here. So and instead of displaying number 1 plus number 2, number 3, like I can display result. So nothing changed much. So but yeah, now that looks better. So the combination by print ln, so will help us later to display and manipulate with a lot of data related to our general coding. Okay, so this is what related to variables. So the next is arrays. So arrays. So there are two types of array. Like one single dimensions and multi dimensions. So in our class we will very rarely we may call like three-dimensional arrays. Mostly that will be the one-dimensional array. So one-dimensional array. So again, so one-dimensional array. So we can use the all other types. Let's say I will use the type integer. So let's call array. So in here I can set up, create those two square brackets. So here new integer, and here I can specify how many elements in that array I need. Let's say 5. So now the array exists, and that particular array I can use to manipulate with my data. Okay, so now I can fulfill that array with numbers. So indexing, so that I think you all know. So the indexing starting from 0. Okay, I will just do this. Okay, 2, 3, 4. So this is our index. So and this is the data what I will place into my array. 4 minus 6, 0. Something like this. So now if I want to display the elements of my array, so one way, so I can just call those elements one by one, something like this. So one, two, three, 5. Okay, so here 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, let's make one more. Let's add one more component where I will display this as array. Single dimensional array. ln 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. Single dimensional array. Say one dimensional, one dimensional. One dimensional array. 1, 10, 4, minus 6, 0. I think that concept is pretty clear for all of you. Yeah. So that's, if not, just follow the data. So the way how to call and identify the array. So actually, this way of displaying the array numbers is very inconvenient. Why? Because the number of an array can be like thousands, hundreds. So instead, better to use the for loop. So here integer I, let's call it index. Index. So our Mhm. Okay, so here 5 index plus plus. So in here I will just display this part. Okay, so and yeah, okay, just let's do it. Okay, just in order to make a difference, let's change that sign. I don't know, put it. Okay, so see now here it's supposed to be index. So yeah, the all elements are displayed. So I just need to separate. So what I can do, I can just make one more print ln, because the difference in between print and print ln, because print will display everything in one line, print ln will move to the next line when the print is over. So if I will just add an empty print ln, so it moves to the new line. So that's why here I will display the same array but using the for loop. So and if our array is much bigger, so that can give us much more like data to display. In order to do that, let's display a big array. Let's say 100 numbers. So the first, let's make that array. So array with 100, 1000 actually doesn't really matter. Big array with 100 elements or numbers. So integer. Let's use integer. Something else. Yeah, let's use integer now. So the integer, let's say array like 2D. Stop. Array big array. So new integer 100. Okay. So now in order to fulfill that array, I will again use the loop. So I can just copy this part here. So here I supposed to place 100. So instead of printing the array, so here array big. So here index. So and technically I can display any numbers, but what I will do, I will place the index there. So I want to have array which is just in order to make. Yeah, okay, now let's keep it like this. So technically my array will be nothing else as something like this. Array big. So that will be something like this: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. Okay, so now let's display that array. Display array big. Array big. So to display that array, so I can use the same for loop. So here system out, I can do the same, or let's use the comma, like to separate my numbers. Okay, so now just to see what will happen. So I will execute. Yeah, okay, so it cannot display that particular array. Okay, array. Yeah, so I made mistake. See, it is array. Here it should be array big. Okay. So actually, this is our array. So let's again move to a new line. So, new line. New line. So now my two-dimensional array is located into the new line. And let's make a note. So this is big array, a big array. This is our big array. So actually I cannot see all of those 100 numbers. So what we can easily do, just add ln and display. Okay, so now we start displaying all of those numbers one by one, but every time when we display the number, so we will break into a new line. So finally we can display that particular numbers. Okay, so now what else we can do here? I don't want to display them one by one, so instead I will use like print. So I will display numbers one by one. So but if my index modulo 10 equal 0, so what I want to do now, so I want to display the 10 first element, like 10 elements, and every time when I will meet 10, so I will add a new line. So okay, now let's see how does it looks like. See, 0, okay. So here I want to display the first 10 element in one line, second 10 element in the second line, and so on. Okay, here I think we can just add one more condition and index bigger than 10. So actually I don't want that first when it's like move to the next line first time. So the first time the index equals 0, so that's why this condition will be false. This condition will be true. Oh, okay, maybe it is not clear what is index like that, percentage 10. This is the same as index modulo 10. So in our case, if our index is like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, and so on. So actually that particular like percentage 10, this is the modulo 10, so which will modify our number in terms of divided by 10. Just like to make an example, so I can display what will be the index modulo 10 here. So index modulo 10 will be actually same, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but when I will meet 10, so that will turns to 0. So here will be 0, 1, 2, and so on. So, and every time when our index is equal 0, I want to go to a new line. So technically, if I meet 10, I want to go to a new line 20, 30, 40, and so on. So, and the problem is the first number. So the first 0, like 0 modulo 0 is, or modulo 10 is 0. And for the, that's why we need to go to a new line. I add this extra condition, index bigger than 10. So, and finally, oops. Yeah, bigger than 10, it's not a good idea, bigger than 1. So technically I need to just remove one index from here. So now I can display my numbers like what is that? This is the two-dimensional array. So we can come to the next part, like, so here we had been talking about one-dimensional array. Let's talk about two-dimensional arrays. So two-dimensional arrays. So the idea is same as the one-dimensional arrays. So, and the way to create it is identical. So let's call it array 2D. So in order to make it, so I supposed to create like that sets of two brackets. So new integer. So in here I supposed to specify how many elements I want to unify together. I don't want to make a big one, so let's make like two. So in a similar manner, I will add elements here. So as long as there are two coordinates, so here there are two indexes, like index x. So here will be the index x and index y. In maths, we usually use I and j. So the indexing, similar to the general array, started from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here will be the same. So the first element will be the 0, 0. Yeah. I can display it. So clear. Yeah, let's make numbers first. So here I will use 1, 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, 3, and 1, 1, 4. Okay, so this certain array, like two-dimensional array, is supposed to be this 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now let's display that particular array right here. So as long as now we do have two-dimensional array, to display it, we need a nested loop. Integer I equal 0, I less than 2, I plus plus. Okay, so why I see this I, this is the first coordinate, this is either 0 or 1. So that's why my I here will be either 0 or 1. Okay, so the second loop will be for j, integer j equals 0, j less than 2, j plus plus. Okay, so now if I want to display array, so okay, so I will not use this print array 2D. So here will be I j, and let's make space. Okay, so here why I cannot do this? See, because j is already boolean. So and actually see duplicate local variable j. So Eclipse Java is giving us the way to fix all of those errors. Okay, rename, we don't mind. So now instead of j, that will be the j1. J1. It doesn't make the logic, change, so 0, 1. Okay, so now if I will print it here, oops. Two-dimensional array. Okay. Okay, here the first I will need to, after displaying the first array, just move back. Okay, so now like two-dimensional array, but see here there is nothing related to the two-dimensional array. So even if we are displaying it one by one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but actually 3 and 4 must be in the new line. So the reason why it didn't happen, because I didn't go to the new line. So when my I will be changed from like 0 to 1, so now I need to go to a new line. So my I should change from 0 to 1. So and when I display the numbers based on j, so now what I can do is to go to a new line. So now we can see our two-dimensional array. So now let's make array a little bit bigger. Okay, let's say instead of 2, 2, make 5, 5. So I will not use this. This one I will delete it as well. So in this one, so here I will display it later here. So the coordinate must be changed like from 2 to 5. So my array, my two-dimensional array will be slightly bigger. So I don't need this system anymore. So and now I just want to create those elements. So here I j1. Okay, so and just in order to make it a little bit different, each element will be the sum of I and j. So and here I want to display that particular array, so that's why I will change to 5. So and our matrix will become here. See, this element, this is that has coordinate 0, 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. So that element has coordinate 1, 1. So that's why like I plus j will be 2. So here 2, 2, that's why 4, 3, 3, 6, 4, 4, 8. So then, like using the very simple way, we display a two-dimensional array with some numbers. Okay, so technically we hold like variables, we hold one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array. So in the very last, what we will need to talk about is the general functions. So for sure, like later we will focus more, like we will display and discuss more precisely what is functions, general functions, what is um, like array, as long as we will use it almost all the classes. Yeah, so better to refresh it before we will start using them. So the same idea about the functions. So definitely functions, they are much more complex. So as default, I assume that you have met functions before. So, but anyway, so how can we perform the functions right here? So we do have our main functions uh, here, and everything what we just displayed was inside of that particular function. Okay, so and let's make some function. So my function will display function to display two dimension array. Okay, as long as I am going to display, so I will not make any kind of output. So that's why this is our function type. So the function type. So if it is void, it means that we are not going to return any number. Okay, display 2D array. Okay, so here, so this is the display type. So this is the function name. So and here inside of the brackets, that will be the input parameters. So and so here inside, I supposed to place the input parameter. So I want to display the two-dimensional array. So that's why the input parameters will be the integer array. Call it input array. So, and what supposed to be inside of our function? So I will need to display here display numbers. So where did I display numbers? Here. So this is the way to display numbers for two-dimensional array. So that's why I can just move it inside of our function. So here we start seeing that, okay, I cannot use the array 2D. Why? Because array 2D exists only in my main function. Inside of my function display to array, so the input array, so that array which contains that particular numbers is input array. So that's why I will place it here. So as long as I will not I just click Ctrl I in order to adjust all brackets. So see, the input array will be the input parameter for our function. So, and what I will do, I will just display them in the screen. So in my console, nothing complex. So now what we need to do is to just call our functions. So I want to display Okay, so here actually Eclipse has a lot of help components. See, it is saying that okay, I cannot do that because the statement must be static. So the static means that the elements may not be changed uh, later. So and what we can do, just instead of void, use this static. That doesn't really matter. Like this. Okay. So it means that nothing will be changed inside of our function. As long as we will just display the elements, so the static is fine. Again, like the later we will discuss the static, not static components. So right now, so our target is to just see how we can implement the general functions to our program. So see here, nothing changed. I still can see my two-dimensional array. So and that array is displayed right here. So displayed by functions, displayed to the array. So what we just created here. Okay, so the next what we will do, so here we try with the void function, which doesn't return anything to our main function. So here let's try one more function, so which will return sum. Okay, so the function will return sum of number 1 and number 2. Okay, so now our function will be integer. So this is the function type. So see here was void. Void means that we will not send anything back to our main function. So the integer means that we will send the integer number back to our function. Okay, so here the function name will be the get sum. Input parameter will be the integer number 1 and integer number 2. Okay, so in here we're supposed to return number 1 plus number 2. Okay, so this is our function. So and what I want to do, see here, where is the sum of two elements, I and j1. So instead, so each element of our array 2D will be the result of the summation of the number 1 and number 2. So that's why here I will use the function get sum. The input parameter will be the I and j1. So see, the number 1 here and j, they're identical. So every time when I call the function get sum, so we will send I to our function get sum. So same we will do for the number j1. So j1 is always different. So and every time when I will call the function get sum, j1 will be sent to our function as the number 2. So inside of our functions, so we will do very simple operation. Number 1 we will sum with the number 2, and we'll return that particular data back to our main function, which has the type integer. So and that particular integer type must be presented here. Okay, and once again we do have a problem with the static non-static method in the application. Yeah, okay, so the easiest way to do this, just add static here. So it doesn't really change our application now, so we are not going to modify it. That application is not dynamic, it is always static. So now we can see there is no any problem. So and if I will run, nothing will change. So, but the elements inside of our two-dimensional array now is the result of the function get sum, what we just display here. Okay, so once again, this is just introduction to the installation of the Eclipse. So we install Eclipse. So we made our first console application, the Hello World. So and after that, we start discussing the variables. So we discuss the one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array, and we build two simplest functions. So the first function had type void, so means that function did not send any data back to our main function. So and another function had the output parameter like the type integer, so means that we send integer number back to our main function. This is the function getSum. So and finally, yeah, we succeed in making very simple and trivial testing application for for Java programming, like using the Java language in Eclipse. So our next projects related to the data structures and algorithms will definitely use the concept of variables, arrays, and functions. So, and our target for this course is to extend our knowledge to something more advanced. So actually the things what we are going to discuss here, so they belong to the medium and advanced level of the programming. So, but definitely in order to do that, we must be familiar with the basic stuff, what we just cover today. So next few lectures, I will also focus on not really complex stuff related to the general programming. So first, what we need to do is to refresh the basic programming skills what you have, and after that we will start talking about something more complex. Okay, so that's all for today's discussion. Just try install Eclipse at your home computer. So just do everything what I presented today. So make sure that everything what we did now is clear. And see you next time offline, I hope, in our room, in our computer room. Yeah, that's all for today. Good luck.